Body shot, ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. UFC Vegas 59 is here. We're back in Vegas, back in the Apex Center, and we have a hell of a light heavyweight bout on our hands. We have Thiago Santos versus Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill, and you kind of hate to say it, but this does feel like the reckoning for Jamahal Hill. This feels like his time to come up on the old dogs, to put the old dogs to pasture, and to solidify the new generation of the light heavyweight division. I mean, if you think about it, Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill is probably the most successful Dana White Contender Series alumni that there is. And I know there's a lot of flack. There's a lot of back and forth between, are the Dana White Contender Series alumni, are they kind of like BC level fighters, or do any of them have a real opportunity to become a champion? And I think right now you have two standouts that are like legit on track to have championship aspirations ahead of them. Jamahal Hill, first and foremost, and Adrian Yanez, number 2 in the bantamweight division. But we'll talk about all that stuff in just one moment. We have a hell of a card. We have the TUF 30 finale on our hands. So it's the women's flyweights and the men's heavyweights. Kamaru Usman's brother, Mohammed Usman, is fighting. He's a former Contender Series alumni. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. Let me bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ, brother. It's like championship fights tonight, but like amateur championship fights on top of like a banger light heavyweight main event, man. What are you taking away from this card? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good about this card, Derek. There's a lot of heat all sprinkled through in, and then you're right, we get like the finale of the Ultimate Fighter coming in, man. But I gotta add a little comment to the Contender Series alum, man. You also got Sugar Show, and you also got Kevin Holland. There's quite a few A-level fighters that are out there that actually went into the Contender Series, bro. But I agree. Yeah. It seems like Jamahal Hill is probably one of the top ones that's really getting the bump for this card going forward, man. And it's like he was saying on his interviews, this is a Sweet Dream Stadium he's been in. He's put a couple people to sleep. Thiago Santos might be on there in the next one, man.
He might be on that hit list, and you're right. And I completely forgot about the Sugar Show, because the Sugar Show is definitely, I mean, listen, man, he's about to fight Petr Yan, so you have to count him. The one who I don't necessarily count because he almost self-sabotaged himself on that show was Kevin Holland. He was almost like, I don't want to win because I don't want to be in the UFC. I'm going to go back to Texas, keep fighting. So, okay, so we got a good stable, but look at that. That's like a handful. Look at how many people get signed every season. This is the 6th season of Dana White Contender Series, so that's kind of why I point that out. But either way, listen, man, this main event, Jamahal Hill, bro, he's a massive favorite right now. Live odds, we'll talk about the opening odds when we start breaking it down. Live odds -310 in favor of Jamahal Hill. Thiago Santos, a lot of people are saying that he's not the same man that he once was, but we have a lot of time to really get into that. My question to you is that this new generation, the Jamahal Hills, all the people that Thiago Santos has fought in his last couple, for an example, we have, Johnny Walker lost, but Alexander Rakic, Glover Teixeira, John Jones, that's still the old generation too. These people having their comeuppance, defeating Thiago Santos, does it mean as much ever since the John Jones loss? Like, do these wins mean as much? Or is it just another stepping stone?
I think it does mean a lot. I mean, Thiago Santos, a lot of people have said, the ups and downs, the slowing down of Santos, all this stuff. After he had the 2 knee surgeries, never really came back as, the dog he once was. But if you go back and you watch the Anthony Smith fight, man, he can still crack you. He can still hurt you. He can still put you down. So I think all those wins still mean a lot to Mohammed Santos.
I mean, bro, even look at his last fight against Magomed Ankalaev, man. He dropped him, you know what I mean? And in one of those rounds, he's like second or third round, he dropped him. So he still got that pop in his hands, man. But it's just a matter of, can he bring it throughout 5 rounds? Either way, folks, we're going to talk about sleepers in 1 second. But before we do that, just to make sure that I remember, drop a like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Hit us up on Twitch at Santa Fe Bomber. All the graphics and links will be below. Santa Fe Bomber for my man AJ. Tap Napper Snap for me. And listen, man, we're getting it week by week, weekend by weekend, when we get these streams going, when we're talking picks, talking parlays, talking money lines. We're talking analytical and professional here, but you get our rambunctious, you got our natural side over there on Twitch. So make sure to give us a follow. We're at 415 subscribers right now on YouTube. So listen, man, that's close to 420, no pun intended. Let's get to 430, 450, 500. You know the goal. And AJ, let's do a little poster review. So what are you thinking, my man? I mean, listen, you got Santos on one side, you got Hill on the other side, you got something in the middle. I don't even know what is in that middle streak, but then you got the alum. It's all kind of crafty and bordered and 3D, and I don't know, man. Take it away. What do you think, bro?
I kind of like this one because you're right. They have that like little lines, the 3D borders, whatever it is going on. And I like that the lines are lining up with the fighter standing underneath the bottom part. You know, it looks like somebody actually took a little bit of time on this one, Derek. I like this one, man. I'm going to give this one a 7.
A 7? Okay, that's high praise from our man. Because I'm not going to lie, I was looking at it and I was like, all right, this is the tough finale, right? You know what I mean? I don't remember what the last tough finale poster looked like. But I can almost guarantee you that it'll look better than this. And I'm not trying to, you know, disrespect or anything like that. But listen, man, I'm going to give this one, because of the abstractness, you got to give it points. But I'm going to give it a 5, man. I'm not really feeling this one too much. Not too much. But that's neither here nor there, man. I'm sorry. I just took me a little second. I got to get our note sheet down while we're getting this thing going. 7 for you, 5 for me. I'll put it in the tally book, and then we'll move on from there. This is lackluster, folks. If you're interested, if you don't know what the poster looks like, and you're just listening, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, so before we jump into the TLDR, folks, look at the scoreboard down low. And for those who are just listening, 93 and 51 a pop. That means that it is a even score, 0-0. Last week, we had a wash because we had the same picks. Try not to let that happen too often because at the end of the day, this is a competition. But I do want to give you guys a heads up. We are heading a little deeper in the betting department, right? So we're handling the money lines here. We're handling some wagers, some prop bets here, week by week basics. If you want to get into the Discord that I actually have going right now, it is under Tap, Nap, or Snaps Fight Club. And you can find that stuff in the link below. You can find that stuff when you go follow me on Twitch, and I'll have the availability, the invite link. You go there, you go get verified, you get put in there. But we're doing free picks right here. We're doing literal unit betting right here. So this is the way to minimize your risk with maximizing the amount of money that's going into your pocketbook. And I know I can't talk right now. I know the stutters and the stumbles are coming. But the point is, you want to get in depth, you want to make some money, holla at the Discord. You know what time it is. All right, AJ, let's do TLDR. Let's get it, brother. So, UFC Vegas 59 sheet is open, and we have a lot of similar picks, and it's a little chalky. I'm not going to lie to you, AJ, but let's talk about it. Main event, we got Jamahal Hill not upsetting, but we have Jamahal Hill getting the big dub over Thiago Santos. Then we got Vicente Luque, who is listen, man, he lost his last one to Belal Muhammad, but you got to think, my man has been on a massive tear. We got him picking up the win over Geoff Neal. Now, when we're talking about the Tough 30 finale, AJ, this is where it gets interesting because you have Mohammed Usman, right? You got Kamaru Usman's brother. You got the Nigerian Nightmare number 2, right? You got a dude who, former football player, massive muscles, huge power, quick for his weight class. But Zac Pauga, this dude is the real deal, bro. You know, when he called out on the show, and AJ, I know you don't watch Tough and the reality part, just skip to the fights, right? But he was calling his number, man. He was all like, listen, I'm going to be the next finale winner. I'm going to be the Tough champion. And like when you hear that, everybody said that, right? Everybody wants to be that. But when he says it, there's some conviction behind his voice, man. So was it a tough choice for you picking Pauga over Usman?
Not really, man. Pauga is a killer. He's very well-rounded, very well-trained, and when he's comfortable in there flowing, although the part that did give me a little pause for hesitation is he usually fights at 205. Now having to fight at heavyweight, it's gonna be he's gonna be outsized by Muhammad, and Mohammed Usman. He does have the name value, the fan value behind him. So maybe those judges are leaning a little bit of a way. So if this goes to decision, who knows? But I like Pauga, man. He can fight.
Yeah, man. And now that I'm thinking about it, because I was telling you that it was Mohammed Usman that had fought on Dana White Contender Series. Now I think I take that back. It might have been the PFL or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
It was PFL.
It was his last fight.
He lost by a guillotine or choke or some sort.
Rear naked choke by Brandon Sales in that fight. So apologies for that earlier. But yeah, man, I think this dude is the real deal. So let's bring it back up. Oop, not that. All right, man. So for the other Tough 30 finale, for the women's flyweights, we have Juliana Killer Miller versus Brogan Walker, man. And we have a split here. This is the lone point of contention here, AJ. So I'm rocking with the older, more savvy, more experienced veteran Brogan Walker. I believe she's like 33 years old, 32, 33 years old, right? Then you got Juliana Miller, who is scrappy, man. There's one thing we can say, good jiu-jitsu, scrappy, has that dog in her. But let me ask you this, man, because we were talking a little bit off air. I don't know if you want to give a little transparency to the people, that this is a little bit of a hedge for you right here. I mean, the heart and the mind are in two different spots. So talk to the people.
Man, first off, like when I was going for this one, I was watching the Juliana Miller fights first, man, and she's an absolute dog. So I loved it. And then I watched and saw Brogan Walker, man, and she got these hands and she can strike and she has this timing. Looks like Wonder Boy a little bit. I really wanted the Brogan Walker pick, and then I saw the betting sheets going down, and I was like, you know what? We cannot have another week where we have the exact same picks. So sometimes you got to play a little bit of gamesmanship here, folks. And I went with the Killer Miller and see if it pays out.
Absolutely. And that's the thing here, folks. You got to think about it, man. Sometimes you do have to pick that upset play. You do have to pick that not locked in or predictability in terms of, you know what I mean, your picks. If you want the one up on the night, man, you know, you can sit there and play it safe every single time. But what happens when the unexpected happens? Like last Tuesday's Dana White Contender Series when Chris Duncan pulled the upset of the year, KO getting smashed on, then comes back and just knocks Chris Campbell out, man. I'm just saying. All right. So then we got Serghei Spivac over Augusto Sakai, which is, I mean, he's a legit veteran, man. I think this is actually one of the more winnable fights for Augusto Sakai, to be honest with you. But if the fight hits the floor, if it hits the mat, yeah, you know what Spivac the polar bear does. And then lastly, this is an interesting one, AJ, because we have both picked Ariane Lipski over Priscila Cachoeira. And Priscila Cachoeira's got big heat in her hands, right? She got the win over Ji Young Kim, which a lot of people contest. A lot of people say that was a little fishy. Should have gone to Kim. She landed the more effective strikes, but Cachoeira was just landing more power, more conviction, more just, you know what I mean, overall, just oomph in her shots. But a lot of people also don't like Cachoeira because of the cheater allegations, right? The Jillian Robertson eye pokes and eye gouges and stuff like that. So people want to see her lose. I'm not saying that I want to see her lose for that reason. I just think that Ariane Lipski, when the fight doesn't get taken to the mat, she's as dangerous as they come, right? Former K1 or KSW champion, not K1, KSW champion out there in Poland. My question to you, AJ, do you think Priscila Cachoeira, who shot in her last fight, do you think that she shoots in this fight?
Ooh, it's a good question. I'm thinking yeah against Ariane Lipski. If Lipski gets his hands going, I think Cachoeira shoots.
We'll see. Both of them are strikers. I'm not going to lie. Cachoeira can get the double, but I think that Lipski's going to be game to it, man. So for that reason, Jamahal Hill, Vicente Luque, Zac Pauga, Serghei Spivac, and Ariane Lipski are our Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. These are the locks of the night, consensus. Now, the one point of contention, I got Brogan Walker to win the Tough 30 Women's Flyweight title, and then my man AJ has Juliana Killer Miller. So take the picks, run to your local sports book, cash them in. But if you want to know why we're picking who we're picking, follow along for the rest of the show and we will gladly give you that information. But if you don't have time, we understand. We just ask you to do one thing. Just take the link of this episode, copy it in your browser, share it with your friends, and subscribe while you're at it. Drop a like to and a comment. Why not? You know, let us know how you feeling. But AJ, man, we got some good sleepers on our hand and I don't want to mince any more time, so let's jump into it.
Time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, my man. So sleeper number one of the night has to go to you because you have two fighters who I think I've individually made sleepers myself because, you know, I always kind of pick the lower weights and try to see the up-and-coming women fighters that we have in the UFC thus far. But these are two fighters who are kind of coming to a fork in the road. Two people who have kind of built up their career thus far. And now we're on that path now, AJ, where we're letting the young fighters kind of, you know, meet in the middle and determine who's going to advance and who's going to stay back. So for that reason, women's flyweight bout, women's bantamweight bout, you have Maeda Bueno Silva versus Stephanie Egger. AJ, let's talk about it, brother. Why is this your sleeper? Talk to the people.
Man, Derek, not only is this a pivotal moment in both of these female fighters' career, this is going to be a very close fight. We were talking about it before. Egger is the favorite, but Bueno Silva has a lot of heat going behind her, man. When she gets rolling, things get going, man. You saw in the Wu Yanan fight, it was a unanimous decision, but she's a scrapper, man. She's a scrapper of a fighter. Has a couple losses, you know, Benon Fierro, has a draw to Matenda de la Rosa. There's ways in which Bueno Silva, she can be on fire, or she has an off night where it's not really going her way, but it still makes it a long and drawn out dogfight. And then you get Stephanie Egger, man, and you were talking about it before. Hip toss, arm bar, we know the deal, man, and that's what Egger does, man. She can snatch you up, toss you around, snatch an arm, snatch a limb, choke you out, whatever the case may be. She is a very dangerous woman on the ground, and you can see it right there, folks. A lot of people are going for decision on this one, but you can see that big chunk in the middle for Egger, 12% by submission. It does make a big difference, man. This is going to be I picked this fight when I saw it. First off, first fight of the night. You know how impactful those are always going. The fighters know it. Dana White's put a lot of emphasis saying if you're the first fight of the night, you better perform. Like you're here to lead off the card, right? You're here to perform, and they usually don't let us down. So I really like this fight for it because it's going to be so tightly contested. It's going to be a banger. I'm excited to see who this one was. And honestly, I don't really know who I'm kind of favoring for. At first, I'm thinking Edgar. Then I'm like, man, Buena Silva, she is a dog in there. She can get things done. This one's going to be a highly contested fight. I'm very, very much looking forward to. Derek, who do you think is going to win?
Well, listen, I've been going back and forth all day because as you can see on the Tapology sheet, Stephanie Egger is the fan favorite. If you look at the betting odds right now, I'll actually pull it up live odds. She is a minus 135 favorite, plus 115 comeback from Maeda Bueno Silva. But in a weird way, I felt like Bueno Silva should be the favorite. You know what I mean? She has more power. She's able to walk her opponent down. I think that if the fight hits the mat, she has good jiu-jitsu. The only problem with Stephanie Egger with that judoka skill set is that she's going to want to stay in that top control and just rain down elbows and punches like she did against Shanna Young a few fights ago. So I don't know, man, because if you look at the loss of Maeda Bueno Silva, I mean, the Manon Fiorot fight, that was kind of a rough one, but we're seeing that the beast is truly a beast, right? And then the other loss was to Marina Moroz, who is a high-level wrestler. So, I mean, this is still up in the air. I'll just say that. So I don't have a formal pick. Let's just say that even though I'm a big fan of Stephanie Egger, I've been preaching her since the first fight in the UFC. I think Bueno Silva might be able to pull up the upset. I'll just leave that at that. All right, AJ, that was a solid sleeper. Now let me talk about mine real fast, brother. And today I want to highlight some controversy today. Just a touch of controversy. But these are going to be two big men swinging, banging the whole nine. The performance we're supposed to see from Derek Lewis and Serghei Pavlovich, yeah, we're going to see that except in the welterweight division. Now let's talk about it. So I want the Vanilla Gorilla, not Chase Sherman, but Jason Witt, the Vanilla Gorilla versus Josh Quinlan. And folks, I don't know if you know about both of these fighters, but look at Jason Witt, welterweight fighter, the Vanilla Gorilla. You look at his last outing, and it's not, I mean, listen, last five, admittedly, it's not the greatest, right? You have a loss to Philip Rowe. You got knocked out. In a fight that he was winning, you have a majority decision win against Bryan Barberena, and we know that speaks volumes. Look at Bryan Barberena, who just put Robbie Lawler out to pasture, right? You have a knockout loss to Matt Semmelsberger. That was that one-hitter quitter when Semmelsberger was on that two-fight streak of like 20-second KOs. A win against Cole Williams. That was a submission. That was a good win. And then a loss to Takashi Sato. So clearly, we're seeing that Jason Witt, he lives and dies by the finish. Like, he comes to finish fights. There's no, I'm just going to sit and pitter-patter for a decision. He's coached by James Krause. I mean, listen, this dude comes and bring it. But Josh Quinlan, if you look at his last fight, he has a knockout win against Logan Urban that was overturned. And it was, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Just remember it was overturned. But if you look at the other wins, because he's 5-0 in his career, you have a submission win against Dallas Jennings, another KO win, and a submission win. So both of these dudes bring it. Let's talk about this controversy for a second. So Jason Witt has already kind of mentioned this. Jason Witt, headline says he doesn't care about Josh Quinlan's PED history. I'm going to beat him anyways. I'm going to read this real fast, folks. Jason Witt is aware that his upcoming opponent recently popped for performance-enhancing drugs, but he's not concerned. Witt will face the UFC newcomer Josh Quinlan this Saturday on the prelim card of the UFC ESPN 40, UFC Vegas 59. The Vanilla Gorilla lost his latest clash when he was stopped by Phil Rowe, all that good stuff. But the whole entire quote, the point is, he says, I got no problem with him. Fuck him. If he wants to do steroids, let him do steroids. I'll whoop his ass on steroids. And what's he going to say? If you need performance-enhancing drugs to fight, I think you're a coward to begin with. If that's what you got to do, then that's what you got to, you know what I mean? That's fine. That's fine. I don't think that now he's in the UFC. I think USADA is probably going to crack down on him a little bit. I don't think he's going to be able to do whatever he wants to do. So I think they'll play a factor in his training and his recovery and all that stuff. I mean, they're known as performance-enhancing drugs for a reason. I don't think it's going to play much of a factor now. And if he's on steroids, I don't give a shit. I'm going to beat him anyways. So literally, folks, I know that was long drawn out and there was some bad grammar and pronunciation on that. But the whole entire point is you should be watching this fight simply just for the drama of it, the drama show. You know what I mean? Big drama show. Shout out Gennady Golovkin. Because Jason Witt, like I said, he's going to bring it. Whether he gets knocked out or knocks him out, he's going to bring it, and you know there's some edge on it. A little similar, AJ, to you remember when Tim Elliott was fighting Jordan Espinosa, and there was allegations of Jordan Espinosa being like a woman beater. And so Tim Elliott's whooping his ass, being like, oh, so you hit women, huh? While he's like punching his face in. I think there's going to be a little bit of that, where if Jason Witt, the good wrestler, right, if he can get Quinlan down and start dropping some ground and pound, he might hit him with so what's up with those PEDs, bro, those steroids? I thought you're supposed to, what you doing now? You ain't doing shit now, getting elbow drop to your face. I will express, though, Quinlan can knock Jason Witt out. This could be very ugly for him, too. So, for that reason, that is your sleeper, 170 pounds, Jason Witt versus Josh Quinlan. Listen, man, if you don't know, now you know. And those are your sleepers. AJ, you got any comments on the big drama show?
Man, the big drama show is going to be a lot of fun to watch because Jason Witt, he is not really much of a talker, but you can tell he goes in there to scrap too, man, especially with the allegations going on, man. This is one of those fights where the UFC didn't need to set up a storyline. It set itself up. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely. And you got to imagine that as the pre-fight pressers go on, there's going to be a little more chippiness going into the fight. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. And with that being said, those are your sleepers. And right before we jump into the main card, I do want to remind you one last time to drop a like, subscribe, share the show with your friends, but most importantly, subscribe to the show. 415 subscribers. That is, I mean, listen, that's great. We love you guys. We appreciate you. We love the comments. We love the interaction. I've been having actually a lot of interaction with you guys over on the videos recently, so I applaud and appreciate you for that. But I think 450 sounds like a better number than 415, personally. So let's get to 450 and then move our way on up from there. You know what time it is. It's your favorite fighters, favorite fight show. Best place, your premier source for your wagering odds, analysis, the whole nine. You dig. All right, AJ, let's jump into this main card.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, my man, so the time has come. Thiago Santos, Marreta, faces Jamahal Hill. This is number 6 versus number 10. And clearly, if you're Jamahal Hill, you're saying, I don't give a shit who is in front of me. If he has the number 6 next to me, or next to his name, excuse me, I'm taking it, I'm leapfrogging, and I'm getting one step closer to the title. The real question that I have here, AJ, is that let's just say that Thiago Santos, let's just say that he's still a real deal fighter, because I do think that he is a real deal fighter. Let's say he still has real pop on his shot, because I do think that he does. There's still a chance for him to win. It's not like this is like, I feel like the narrative around this story is Jamahal Hill is going to go put Thiago Santos to pasture. He's going to finish him, and then that's it. But then it's like you have to really look at the flip side and say, well, Marreta, given that he can go 5 rounds with Magomed Ankalaev and not get finished, that's pretty damn impressive, right? I mean, because Magomed Ankalaev, even though he has a lot of decision wins, I mean, that's a killer right there. That's number 3 in the division now. So what's the path to victory for Marreta right here? I mean, you know he's got to be motivated. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. There's got to be a path to victory. What is it?
Man, it's a hard question too, because Jamahal Hill, I always want to say press forward, especially for Santos, a big dude with big power like Santos, control the center of the ring, engage, make it your fight. But Jamahal Hill has these amazing counter strikes that he can catch you with where you're moving, and it's literally, we saw it against Johnny Walker, where if things are going on in the chaos and you both end up clashing each other, Jamahal Hill usually gets the better of the altercations or exchanges. Thank you, Derek. And then you can't really, I mean, we saw what happened with Paul Craig in the grappling exchange. So maybe you go grappling, but I don't know if Thiago Santos has that kind of chops right there. So I'm thinking the whole time, man, let Jamahal Hill kind of tire himself out and then lay heavy on that experience, that old school experience, that 5-round experience that you have. Kind of take the first, second round off. Maybe if you need to, obviously don't get put away. Don't actually take it off, but lay on that one a little bit. Like let Jamahal Hill tire himself out and show him how deep the waters really are in that 5-round octagon with Marreta Santos. What do you think?
Well, I do think that Thiago Santos does have, he's playing the ego game. He's playing the mind game a little bit, because he did issue a challenge to Jamahal Hill. And he said, hey, my challenge to you is let's see who could stay standing on the feet longer. And I'm like, well, that's a good challenge, but also a bad challenge for you. But the problem is Jamahal Hill, as much as I do think he's the favorite in this fight, as much as I do think that he has all of the advantages on the feet in this fight, he has one tendency that some of our favorite fighters who we know and love have this tendency, and there's just no way of getting around it, where if you do pressure him, if Marreta somehow is able to revive the Marreta Blitz, that's the thing we've been waiting for forever, right? If he can revive it, Jamahal Hill kind of, when he gets pressured up and he has to go backwards in a linear line, he drops his hands and he leans back and he pulls the Dusko Todorovic, bro. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, okay. So, I get it, man. You're still very elusive. You're still throwing up that counter hook, all that. But if you get caught by one of those Santos bombs, man, nobody is protected from getting knocked out from one of those shots. Now, AJ, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but you do know I have my gripes, and I've had my gripes for this is going to be the 3rd fight in a row. You remember ever since Jamahal Hill got his arm dislocated by Paul Craig, I was like, well, that's his power hand. That's his left hand. Not good. How has he knocked out his last 2 opponents, AJ? Right hook. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, maybe let's try to take away the right hook and let's test out that left hand and see what it can do. Don't circle to your left, Santos. Circle to your right, and let's just test out what that power hand can do. But if it comes down to it, Santos is a orthodox fighter. Jamahal Hill is a southpaw fighter. Santos will swivel back and forth between stances. I do think that right hand could catch Santos and put him away. But I do think that is the path to victory for Santos. Blitz him. Don't respect him. And let's see what that left hand can do, because he's been knocking everyone out with the right hand. Does that sound adequate? Does this sound like a decent game plan? What do you think?
It sounds adequate. It sounds risky too at the same point, man. Standing and trading with Jamahal Hill. If the blitz does work, if the Marreta blitz does work, it works well. It just hasn't worked in the last 3 years. It's a little rough.
Ever since John Jones, bro, you kind of, he put a lot out there. I'll just say that. So with Thiago Santos, he opened up as a plus 240 underdog. The odds have now, changed a little bit. Now he's plus 250 underdog, minus 310 favorite for Jamahal Hill. Is there any smart man in the world, are they throwing moneyline money down on Thiago Santos?
If you're looking to hedge a little bit of a bet, it's the money's there. What'd you say, plus 250 now?
Plus 250 right now, yeah.
Marreta, he's still a dog, so he can get it done. I don't know though, man. Plus 250 is a little stretch.
Well, let's talk about this, man. Jamahal Hill, he went 5-round distance, I think, in his 4th professional fight. Thiago Santos, he clearly has experience. A lot of people are saying Jamahal Hill hasn't really been tested like that. If you look at his last fight, like I said, there's a first, a couple early stoppages. He got that loss to Paul Craig. That was kind of early. Ovin St. Preux, I think that was 2nd round. And then that Klitz in a Brew, there was overturned or... Yeah, I think that one was like an overturn over. He got popped for weed on that one, win, but that was still early too. So let's say this fight goes round 4, round 5, man. Do you think Santos can then start bringing some pain there? Or do you think that Jamahal Hill is going to be in control for all 5 of these rounds?
No, that's where I think Thiago Santos really starts to kind of find his groove, if you will. That late round 3, round 4, round 5, really in those championship rounds. Sure, Jamahal Hill has done it, but he hasn't done it as many times as Santos. That's the thing.
Let's talk about these props, AJ. Is it surprising too? Because this kind of surprised me, because I was like, well, Thiago Santos, if you look at his methodology, and let's actually just take a look real fast. Let me see how many times the man has been knocked out in his career. He's been knocked out 3 times in his career, submitted 3 times in his career. The man has 32 fights overall, right? So you get finished 6 of 32 fights. That's not too terrible. Jamahal Hill's TKO prop is minus 150, bro. Minus 150. It's almost like you might as well just take the money line, because the TKO prop sucks. Who would want to take the TKO prop? Do you think that this is... do you think he could really get Santos out of there? When's the last time Santos has been finished, actual finish? Decision loss. He got submitted by Glover Teixeira, and then even to John Jones, he lost a decision. So it's not like this dude is just getting knocked around all day, man. Why do they think Jamahal Hill, I know he has power in his hands, I know he's precise, but why do we think, the odds makers, why do they think that he can just get Santos out of there? Because I kind of see that as a long shot. I can see this going as a decision more than anything.
Yeah, I can see this going to decision more than anything, man, especially because Thiago Santos hasn't been knocked out since 2018 by David Branch. Been quite a while, man. He's fought some absolute killers after that too. But I think the reason why that TKO prop is so bad, not bad, but just not lucrative for Jamahal Hill, is because they're riding the hype train, man. They're riding the hype train that is Jamahal Hill, that the Sweet Dreams Express is real, and that people are about it. I don't think him getting his arm dislocated weighs a lot in many people's mind, especially after coming back like it did that first fight. They saw him knock a couple other people out and they're like, oh, okay, it doesn't matter at all. I'm with you though, Derek. Circle to your right, man. Let's expose that left hand, see what it's working with. But yeah, stay away from that right hand bomb.
Well, my question to you, ultimately here is that if this does go to a decision, my thing is if John Jones couldn't knock him out, right? If all of these amazing fighters, Magomed Ankalaev couldn't knock him out, Glover Teixeira finished him, but Alexander Rakic, these are the top of the division. They can't knock him out. Jamahal Hill's supposed to just come in and starch him. I can see it in the realm of possibility. I don't think it would be a one-shot drop, though. I think, if anything, it would be an accumulative type nature. But, it's just so tough for me to think about Thiago Santos getting knocked out. But it's a tough stage in his career. So I don't like the minus 150 TKO. Plus 300 for a decision. That's juicy right there. Now that's juicy. Now that's calling your name. That's saying, please give me the decision. Now, so many things can happen in 5 rounds, man. Who's to say? Does anybody want to see a light heavyweight bout go the distance the same way Santos last time he was a headliner went the distance? Everyone's like, this is fucking boring. Nobody wants to watch this. Big boys going to points. But is there anything lucrative on the Santos side, man? Plus 525 for the TKO, 650 for the decision, 1400 for a submission. I mean, there's almost nothing. You might as well just take the money line if you're going to bet on Santos. What do you think?
Yeah, might as well take that money line at plus 240. I'm not really seeing a knockout or submission. I can see a decision coming from Santos if he's able to withhold that gas tank and, like I said, win late round 3, 4, and 5. Ooh, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a hard one, especially because I see sometimes I'm like thinking of like how Jamahal Hill or like how fighters are going to fight other fighters in general, and I see this fight for Jamahal Hill going like how he fought OSP. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he's going to have. I think Santos will have a little bit more output than OSP, and that's kind of where his downfall was. But if the output starts to dwindle, then I think Jamahal Hill really runs away with this one.
All right, brother. Well, check this out, because this makes my decision a lot more tough. The over and under on this fight is 2.5 rounds. 2.5 minus 185 for the under, plus 155 for the over. So now it sketches me out a little bit because they really think they're going to put Santos out. I'm going to take the over. I don't care. I'm taking the over, and I'm going to go to a decision, man. I trust in Thiago Santos Marreta's durability. He hasn't really been put on stilts too many times in his last 5 fights. There have been a couple times where he's been rocked, and you're like, oh, shit. But he's never gone down, dropped, shelled up, or anything like that. So I like Jamahal Hill via decision on this one. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm with you. Jamahal Hill via decision. That plus 300 is calling your name right there, brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, listen, if he does TKO him, then we know Jamahal Hill, you might as well line him up against Yuri next because he's on a tear that nobody is on a tear doing. So that is your main event, the light heavyweight contest right there. But we do have a fun co-main event as well. And this is a man coming off of, a rough performance, if you really think about it, right? In Vicente Luque, the silent assassin, fighting Geoff Neal. And both of these dudes right here. Geoff Neal, he's coming off that with a split decision win against Santiago Ponzinibbio, man, which was a back and forth war. That was a fun fight. But that loss against Belal Muhammad for Vicente Luque, that took a lot of steam off of his momentum right there. And I'm not saying that he's still not the killer that we know him to be. It's just that his whole approach of I'm going to stand, I'm going to walk you down, I'm going to throw crazy shit at you, didn't work against Belal when he just said, I'm just going to wrestle you for all of these rounds, and we're just going to call it that. So, in this fight, man, who has more to lose right here? Luque has the bigger name. Geoff Neal is more dangerous for the number next to his name, personally. But if you look at it, Geoff Neal's last 5, he has losses to Neil Magny and Wonderboy Thompson, wins against Nico Price, knocked him out, win against Mike Perry, knocked him out, and then a win against Santiago Ponzinibbio, split decision. Rare decision victory for Geoff Neal. Who has more to lose?
I think it has to be Vicente Luque, man. And is going on a 2-fight losing streak to 2 dudes that are on the up and up, like Bully B and then now going to be Geoff Neal. And Geoff Neal, not really so much on the rocket ship ride that Belal Muhammad is, but still, either way, still climbing, man. He's only 14-4. You go from being the Vicente Luque who was kind of overlooked, didn't have a big name value to him, and then he starts coming up, and people start realizing who he is, getting the knockouts, getting the wins. I mean, you go through it, man. Submitting Michael Chiesa, big win right there. Submitting Tyron Woodley, again, a big win. Randy Brown, KO. There's a lot of these fights, and he also knocked out Nico Price. I forgot about that one. Mm-hmm. But then you drop one to Belal Muhammad, and then you drop another one to Geoff Neal. I think it's really starting to look rough for Vicente Luque. I think he has a lot more to lose on this fight. What about you?
I mean, yeah, if you think about it, Luque's kind of been calling for his shot at the title. You know what I mean? So he wants a shot against Usman, and a win against Geoff Neal isn't really going to do that for you because it doesn't even really make sense that this fight is taking place. 6 versus 13. Like, if you're Luque, why are you fighting down? Is it just because you want to fight? How did this fight get matched up? Either way, I do think that this will give him another opportunity to get into that top 5 again and then, kind of work the magic, man. But let's talk about strategy here. Geoff Neal, he's one of the sharpest dudes on the feet when it comes to just being a tactician, being technical, and just, mixing up to the body, going up to the head, doing what he needs to do. Sharp. Vicente Luque is a bit of a wild man where he'll walk you down reckless, throw big bombs. He'll eat one to give you one. And he always has that submission threat in his back pocket. That's the thing that makes him such a scary fighter is that when the fight hits the floor, if you're not careful, man, if you're not pulling a perfect Belal Muhammad-esque performance, you could very well get submitted. Like legitimately, like Tyron Woodley did or like all these other dudes have. So I don't know, man. Do you think that Vicente Luque, because Geoff Neal is very much a own the center of the cage, right? I'm going to walk you down. You know, do you think Vicente Luque is going to try to skirt back against the cage, or do you think he's going to try to take the authority? He's going to steal the center of the ring, and he's going to be able to, because of his jiu-jitsu background, because of his grappling acumen, be able to walk forward with reckless abandon and not care about what Geoff Neal does and really put Geoff Neal on the back foot?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the latter, man. When I was watching Vicente Luque, just going back over a couple of these other fights, I really thought this fight's going to go exactly how Geoff Neal versus Santiago Ponzinibbio went. Ponzinibbio walking forward, throwing crazy stuff, reckless abandonment, trying to get to the hips, but not really. But I think Vicente Luque can get to the hips if he needs to, or he gets hurt, and then he starts playing the jiu-jitsu game. There's a lot of other things that Vicente Luque does not better than Santiago Ponzinibbio. It's just a different form. He's a little younger, so he has a little bit more vigor to him. And I think that fight's going to be very similar in the ways in which they're performed. And if you look at it, man, Geoff Neal, working off the back foot, did look good. You know, he had the shots. He had the thing. He was able to circle out. He was doing all the right stuff. I just think this is like the next step against the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight.
What does it mean to you that he won a split decision against Santiago Ponzinibbio? Because Ponzinibbio is super game, man. He's super game. What does it mean to you that it was split, that was contention in that victory?
I was watching this one back and I was like, man, was this one split? Like a lot of people did think Santiago Ponzinibbio won, but I think he won the first 2 rounds. If you're gonna give him any, if you're gonna score it for Ponzinibbio, you give him the first 2 rounds, and then Geoff Neal really runs away with it. So I think that's where Vicente Luque can kind of stride, or can kind of outstep Luque, or outstep Geoff Neal in this one. He can keep the pressure going the entire time. He's not going to fade. And if he does, then he gets hurt, and then he has jiu-jitsu to fall back on. So I think there's a whole other fold to the Luque game plan, where I don't know if it'll be split this time, but I had to go watch that one because I saw split decision. I was like, man, was it that close? It was that close.
So Vicente Luque has 2 submission wins in his last 5 victories, right? Which is pretty impressive. 2 of those Darce chokes you always have to watch out for. Geoff Neal, on the other hand, if you really look at it, man, if his losses, 2 decisions, 1 knockout and 1 submission, and the only knockout of his career was in 2017 against Kevin Holland back in Texas at XKO. So if you really look at it, man, it's going to be a long, and I don't want to do another one of these, all right, every fight going to decision because it hasn't happened before. Just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean that it won't happen. But who has a higher likelihood of a finish? To be completely honest here, man, I think it's going to be tough for Vicente Luque to choke out Geoff Neal. I mean, look at who's the dude's fought, you know what I mean? A knockout would be kind of ideal, but then again, hand of steel also has a chin of steel too, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, who has a better shot of really getting a finish in this one?
Man, I agree with you, because you're right. Geoff Neal, hands of steel. Neal also has a chin of steel, chin of granite, whatever you want to phrase it. He really does. But you look at those odds, man, plus 350 for the KO, plus 525 for the submission. Worse, the odds makers are kind of seeing it as the decision, man, that plus 165. I think Luque has the better chance of getting the finish, but not really, man, because if Geoff Neal is able to put together like a nice 3-piece combo and really stun Luque, and then let him get up and put it to him again and put it to him again and let him get him up again, then I see Geoff Neal really running away with this one. But I don't really see either of these fighters getting finished. Do you?
It's going to be tough, man. If anything, man, I see Vicente Luque being able to mix it up just a little bit more to give that element of surprise, right? For Geoff Neal, it's going to be one game plan. He wants to knock you out. So how can he get it done? Vicente Luque does get wild in his exchanges, though. So if he gets caught in the midst of one of those exchanges, yeah, of course, man, his chin could, really get touched. But this is what concerns me, man. Look at the over and under, man. 2.5, right? Minus 135 for the under, plus 105 for a decision to go over. It's only a 3-round fight. So the odds makers, once again, want to see a finish. They think there's a higher likelihood of a finish happening. The hard part is, do you just say, all right, I mean, Vicente Luque, I mean, I don't have odds for just like in the distance, either fighter, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have odds for that. So it has to be specific. So it's just like, who do you pick? And I'm really, folks, you can see the struggle on our faces here trying to figure this one out, because we don't necessarily always pick the methodologies before, we have to talk it out and figure it out. So in this moment right now, is decision the juiciest prop right here for Vicente Luque, man? Is that the best odds that you can get? Or do you think that you should chase the TKO here?
Man, sheesh. I was honestly thinking if there's gonna be a random surprise, because I'm kind of leaning more towards the decision. That's where my head is. That's where, like, in my mind, the safe bet is. But if there's going to be a random something sort of ever that happens, it's going to be very difficult. Don't get me wrong. I think that submission, that plus 525, is looking a little more juicy than the TKO because I don't think he can knock out Geoff Neal. I also don't think he could submit Geoff Neal. But if there's going to be something crazy that happens, I feel like it's going to be that submission.
Yeah, man. If you look at the decisions, his last decision win for Vicente Luque was against Mike Perry. That was back in 2019. He's just basically been on a knockout streak since then. Fuck it, man. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go TKO, brother. I'm gonna go TKO. I'll give you. I don't know if you're gonna rock with that submission truly, if you're gonna jump on the decision, but I'm gonna rock with the TKO, and I'll go under 2.5. What do you got, brother?
I'm doing it. I'm going submission. I'm going submission early round 2.
Okay. So we're both taking the under on that fight. I got TKO. You got submission, and watch it end up being a decision. Watch, of course, the one likelihood that we don't want to have happen. But all right, so yeah, we both got Vicente Luque on the board here against Geoff Neal. I do think, though, folks, I'm going to give you a heads up right now. If there's any fight to hedge on this slate of fights right here, it's Geoff Neal. You hedge a money line bet on him plus 150. Throw just a couple dollars on it. Throw a half a unit. Throw a unit. Whatever you want to do. But do that, and then that will definitely give you a safety net here because Vicente Luque, even though I do think he should be the rightful winner, Geoff Neal will always make it interesting. I'll just say that. All right, AJ, now let's get into it. Now this is the Tough 30 finale, man, and we don't have as much to talk about given these fighters don't have such an extensive history, but we can talk about what we saw in the Tough series. So we got Mohammed Usman versus Zac Pauga. Now, Mohammed Usman, he's ranked in the Tapology rankings because he had that PFL performance, right? But if you look at it, the heavyweight finale, Pauga is a minus 240 favorite with the plus 200 comeback for Usman. And if you look at the TKO prop, this was even crazier because I was like, well, if there's one person who has one path to victory for TKO, it's Usman, and it's plus 500 for the TKO, plus 250 for the TKO of Zac Pauga. And I think that there's a very clear reason for that. And I think the reason specifically, AJ, is because Pauga is a slickster, bro. He's a slickster. He knows how to place his punches. And if you look at Usman, I'm not trying to hate, man, but in his last fight against the dude who was the number 1 pick for Amanda Nunez's team, Eduardo Perez or something like that, Eduardo something. The thing that scared Eduardo that I could tell is that he thought that he won the fight after. That's what he said. He was like, I won the fight. I landed more cleaner shots. You know, when he hit me in the shoulders and all that. Usman really loads up on that big right hand. He has that quick jab, that super quick jab, but then he'll load up and bring that right hand, man, where you could see it a second and a half before it comes, right? So when you have that massive power, you're not trying to sit there, throw combos, little volume shots while dudes throwing haymakers at you, right? Pauga, on the other hand, he has real power and precision in his shots. So they're technical, they're precise, but there's a lot of precision. Boop, right on the button, then get out. Hit him with the leg kick, then get out. I think Usman is going to freeze himself up a little bit with his own striking, personally, man. That's just the one takeaway that I have. Huge power, but it's just a little clunky, you know what I mean? And if we could string together less power and more volume, more fluid combos, I think he'd be so scary because he's so athletic. But Zac Pauga is he's in that, not unfortunately, but he's in that spot a little more than Usman is right now. What do you take of my assessment, or do you see it any differently here, AJ?
No, you hit the nail on the head, Derek. In fact, my first notes for Mohammed Usman, very crisp jab, but loves the overhand right. And he can get that crisp jab out. He can flick you and he can catch you. We saw it in the first fight that he had on the Contender Series. He does, it's there. You know, the fundamentals are there. He just likes to throw either one punch or load up massive on that big overhand right. And the problem with Pauga is he has great reads, man. While the fight's going on, this dude's eyes are everywhere it needs to be. The IQ's there. He's seeing everything coming way before you even throw it, man. Very skilled, very well-rounded. If Mohammed Usman can actually get together a couple, a 3, 4, 5 punch combo, I think he'll do good. But the problem is, man, when he gets his opponents in danger, it seems like something has happened in the past where he's like, no, hold on. I've been hurt before, right? I've had this happen. Chaos been going. I get slept and wake up in the locker room. I don't know if that's actually happened to him, but it seems like every time he has his opponents in danger, he backs off just a little instead of actually going wild man on him or even getting to a takedown or anything like that. It seems like Usman has a little bit of hesitation in the long combos, which gives me a little pause for concern. Now, my thing though, right here is obviously, you got Kamaru as the older brother, the wrestler. If the older brother's wrestling, the younger brother's going to be wrestling all growing up as well. But he played a little bit more football. Do you think wrestling's going to actually come into this one? Because Pauga has some great wrestling defense. He's going to be the smaller guy. So I'm thinking you get him up the cage, you put your body on him, you let him carry that actual heavyweight weight. And then you start really seeing where the fight goes after that. But Pauga, like I said, man, fast sprawls, great reads, going to be very hard to take down. Hit me.
Well, before I answer that, I just want to be clear. You said in the first fight where you saw the crispy jab of Usman, you said the contender series. Did you mean the first tough fight?
Tough fight, sorry.
First tough fight. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So for Zac Pauga, man, I do think that the wrestling, defense, chops, all that stands out. Mohammed Usman, I don't think he's going to want to wrestle per se, but there is one place where he's actually vocalized in the show that he wants to get his opponents. That's in the clinch. He wants to clinch up with his opponents, drop the knees, elbows, big shots off the break, and all that good stuff. The only problem with that is that what happens if you initiate that clinch and Pauga takes him down? You know what I mean? And Pauga asserts the upper hand. So I'm not sure. I don't think Pauga, I think it'd be the safest thing for Pauga, even though it's kind of counterintuitive. Stick on the feet, stay at distance, and just avoid the big bombs and just hit them clean and just outpoint them. You know what I mean? But I do think in a weird way, not in a weird way, but I mean, Usman, it's not like this is a dude who, let me just take a look just so I can be clear here. For Usman, in his 7-2 record, one loss via submission, the other loss is via, let's see. Sorry, folks. Let me pull it up. All right. So the other loss is via, let's see, a decision. So, to Dontel Mays, too. That's interesting. I didn't know that they fought. So, a decision loss to Dontel Mays and a rear naked choke loss. Everything else, he got a decision win, couple KO wins, lots of decisions here. So, that gives precedent right there, right? AJ, precedent with those decision wins and losses that can be an outcome in this fight. So, I think that Zac Pauga is going to be able to easily outpoint Usman. The question is, can he knock him out? And I don't think Usman has that quit in him. I haven't seen it yet, you know what I mean? Because he's been in some tough spots in the show, and he never gave up on himself. And that's one thing that's very, very admirable that you have to take into account here. Zac Pauga never gave up on himself either, but he's also been in the driver's seat for all of these fights, right? So what's the likelihood of a Pauga TKO at plus 250 here? Do you think that that's juicy enough to be able to jump on it? Or do you think the safe play, look at those odds for a decision, bro, plus 150. And I'll pull up the over and under right now. So what do you think?
Yeah, man, the only reason I don't like that TKO for Pauga is because Usman plays it so safe. Like I said, when the combos are getting there, he'll back up. He'll put the guard up and back, literally just walk away from the fight. So that's why I think that the TKO probably not going to happen for Pauga unless he's able to get in, throw a leg kick, get him distracted, come in, overhand right, something flashy kind of style where Mohammed Usman isn't able to retreat, isn't able to get the distance he needs. Then I see that, but I don't really see it coming.
Yeah, man. And when I'm looking at it right now, if you look at Pauga and you just look at his last couple, I mean, even those tough fights right there, he did get the TKO on Jordan Heiderman. He did get that TKO, and that was kind of just an attrition, just an accumulation of punches. Couldn't do it anymore. So you're thinking Usman just plays it a little too safe to even be able to get something like that on, but then again, Heiderman, he was a wrestler. He wasn't even really a striker, right? So it's not like he had the big bombs really to be worrying about coming back at you. He did decision, now Bartling. So, I mean, oh, he has a win over Marcus Perez. Okay, right on, the Cage Warriors. So, yeah, man, listen, I think that Zac Pauga via decision could be a good play here. It's just tough to me when you have any set of heavyweights, right? Like, I was wagering on a contender series fight this weekend, man, and it was some heavyweights. And these were crispy heavyweights. They had big power, but they were also a little timid, too, right? It had some wrestling stuff going on. I'm thinking over 1.5, man. It opened as a minus odds. It got shifted to plus odds. I was like, okay, this makes sense. Let's go the over, and let's, use psychology against the odds makers. What happens? It's heavyweights, man. One shot finishes everything, and then you get just knocked out with just like it's all going good, boom, knocked out. So I was like, oh shit. Is that going to happen here? I just want to learn from my mistakes and not continuously make the same mistakes. So do we anticipate just a boom KO? That's it.
I think if that's the case, we're going to see it more from Usman than Pauga. Okay. Pauga usually fights at 205. That's the thing, man. He's not an actual legitimate heavyweight. As much as, could be a legitimate heavyweight. Yeah. I think he's better off at 205, a little slickster, if you will. If we're going to see a big KO, a big one-punch KO power, it's going to be the big Usman coming in.
Well, listen, folks, that is why you tune into this program, because when we talk it out, there's just those little gems right there, right? If Pauga was a true bona fide 265-pounder, because if you look at the weight classes listed, Pauga's at 225, Usman at least 240. So it's like, that's a pretty massive difference. All right, I'll take the over. I'll take the decision. What do you got, brother?
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well. Decision by Pauga.
Okay.
Makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I just think he's going to be able to outclass him, man. Another learning lesson for Usman here. But if Usman can land the big bomb, man, I mean, who's to say? But all right, so that is your Tough 30 heavyweight finale. And now we move on to the second half of the finale, which is the Tough 30 women's flyweight finale. And I actually think, AJ, that this fight has more steam on it than the heavyweight fight does, personally, man, because the personalities, right? You got Brogan Walker hailing out of Guam, Juliana Killer Miller, submission specialist, right? She got Naga championships at home, the whole nine, and she says she's going to be the next champion. She has the bravado. She has the spirit. She kind of has that Ricky Tercios thing going on, right? Where she just has that, like, kind of cultish following because of the personality and all that. However, Brogan Walker is a more experienced. She is older, and the big thing to take away, she's a lot shorter, man. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. Same reach and all that. She's just shorter. She's 5'4" to 5'7". However, they didn't look, that much shorter when they got, stood up, faced up. So let's take a look at what we got here. So the last loss was to Claire Guthrie, which is a loss that Juliana Miller, it was her first loss of her career. She's 2-1, right? And she actually avenged it on the show, on Tough 30. Brogan Walker, though, 7-2, a little bit older, a loss to Pro Gonzalez and a loss to Erin Blanchfield. Now, AJ, knowing what we know today, those aren't bad losses. Those are not bad losses. Erin Blanchfield, who's arguably the dark horse in the women's flyweight division right now, who's about to be jumping into the top 10, not a bad loss. But Brogan Walker, on the other hand, if you look at her wins, last win, submission, rear naked choke. The other win, decision against Miranda Maverick. She's decision to Miranda Maverick, AJ. That's why I say that for Brogan Walker, there's a lot of experience at hand that can be built upon in this Juliana Miller matchup. Juliana Miller, she has an armbar win and a rear naked choke win, and then you have a couple decision wins, before that, right? Maybe some amateur stuff. So given what we saw in the show, clearly Miller has the advantage in terms of the momentum, right? She believes in herself. She's riding a hot streak. Brogan Walker's wins have been a little more hard fought, right? Because she had the wrestler that she had to fight, and then she actually fought another fucking legit fighter, Hannah Guy, right? She had to fight Hannah Guy. So she's fought two legit grapplers, and she's basically dealt with them. No problem. What path to victory does Juliana Miller truly have, given that that's her number one game is jiu-jitsu? Like, her striking is a little clunky, you know what I'm saying? So what do you make of it?
Her striking's real clunky. The biggest thing I have against Juliana Miller is she can easily get pieced up on the feet. Yeah. But then she can come back and actually start working the dog in her. Like, get to the ground, get to the takedown, and then really start putting Brogan Walker in a position where she feels a little more timid, a little more scared, a little more like having the pressure on her. Because if Brogan Walker can keep this fight on the feet, it's going to be a long day for Miller. Now, I don't think she'll put her out. She might be able to put her out. But if Brogan Walker keep that distance, keep that karate style, keep that wide stance, blitz in, blitz out, get out of there, it's going to be very difficult. So I think Juliana Miller is going to need to walk her down, get her forward, hopefully not get pieced up too much as she's doing that, and then get the fight to the ground and get her to somewhere where she's not comfortable. Because we saw in both of Miller's Ultimate Fighter fights, once she's able to get her hands on you, then she feels a lot more comfortable. Then she starts kind of talking a little bit more. The bravado starts coming out a little bit more. You really see who her true personality is at that point.
Do you think that reckless abandon style that she takes, though, where she's like literally just like blitzing forward, jab, just sticking that jab out to you a million times just so she can grab onto you, can that work against a more experienced Brogan Walker? Or do you think Brogan Walker is just going to back up, circle out, reset, and then just start picking apart again?
Yeah, that's if I'm Brogan Walker's camp, that's exactly what I'm saying, man. Just literally head off to the side, shoot in a couple punches, dip right back out, leg kick, body kick. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that's what worries me is that if Miller does take that approach and it works, you're like, oh, God. Like, it doesn't matter how bad your striking is as long as you can get your hands on him, right? But Brogan Walker, I do think she has some legit jiu-jitsu in herself, so it's going to be a fun competitive matchup, man. But I'm going to be honest with you. I do think that the experience is going to triumph in this matchup here. Even though when I was talking about this, if you look at the odds right now, let's just look at the money line odds. Minus 130 favorite is Juliana Miller. Plus 110 comeback for Brogan Walker. And this is why I think that. And this is the theory that's going on. They're saying that the people on the internet, on Reddit and stuff like that, they're saying they think this is more of a legacy pick. And what that means is that Juliana Miller probably has the higher ceiling overall as a fighter, but Brogan Walker probably has the better chance of winning right now. So even if Miller loses this fight, she still was viewed as the favorite because of what her potential could be as opposed to what the ceiling is at this current fight. I don't know if that makes sense to you. That's just the theories on the interwebs, man. But I like Walker here. I like Walker so much that I'm going to look at the over and under. 2.5 is the over and under. The over is minus 360. Well, guess what? We're taking the over. Plus 150 decision prop for Brogan Walker. And and decision right there, brother. For Miller, is she submitting? Walker? How's she getting it done for you?
Oof. I think submission, man, because as much if there's going to be a way that Brogan Walker wins, I see decision. It maybe even possibly a TKO. Juliana Miller, I don't see the TKO happening. I see some kind of scuffle going down, get the fight to the ground, submission going forward for Juliana Miller. I'm going to say late round one.
Late round one. So we're taking the under. We're going the submission, and I get it, man. For Juliana Miller, you're going to look like a savant if this hits. If this hits, you're going to look like the dude who just predicted the future. Because, yeah, it can have some scrappy situation happens, and then she just pulls up the submission and pulls out an armbar out of nowhere and gets the dub, man. So that is your Tough 30 women's flyweight finale right there. And now we'll move on to Augusto Sakai versus Serghei Spivac. And, AJ, I just want to know right here, man. Augusto Sakai's been a little bit on a downturn himself, right? Little downturn. It hasn't been the worst thing in the world, but it's been a little concerning, right? You lost 3 in a row. Sakai was supposed to be the next guy in the heavyweight division, and you lose 3 in a row. His last 2 wins knocked out Marcin Tybura, which is very impressive. You do have to admit right there. And then you split decision Blagoy Ivanov. So these are 2 dudes who are like top 15 guys that you've basically got wins over. You lose to Alistair Overeem, you get knocked out. You lose to Jairzinho Rosenstruck, you get knocked out. You lose to Tai Tuivasa, you get knocked out. Being that he's gotten knocked out 3 fights in a row here, AJ, I would imagine Sakai does not come out with reckless abandon. I would imagine that he comes out a little timid. And I think that timidity is going to work in favor of a Serghei Spivac, who has been honing his boxing, who, if he grabs you, he will uchimata you, just hip toss you to the ground and smash your face in, which he has done time and time again. His only loss in his last 5, AJ, and he's 14-3 in his career. His only loss in his last 5 is against who? Tom Aspinall, man, the dude who is the guy, right? So, I mean, listen. How do you see Sakai having a path to victory here? I want to talk about that first and foremost because, like I said earlier in the show, I do think this is one of Sakai's more winnable fights, legitimately. So how does he have a path to victory here?
Man, if he's able to stay, not necessarily at distance, but stay safe in the combos and then outwork Serghei Spivac, that's to me going to be the best kind of a way. If he's able to get the hands going, circle out, get a couple kicks, and then stay away from the big wrestling that is Serghei Spivac, the polar bear. I mean, I think that's going to be the best way for him. But it's going to be a lot of leg kicks, a lot of demobilizing Serghei Spivac, and then controlling the fight. Not necessarily at distance, because I don't think he's really much of a distance fighter. He's going to have to get a couple combos going and work it like that, keep the pressure on Serghei Spivac, but also not get taken down, not get held down on the ground. How do you see it?
Well, I see Augusto Sakai working some good combinations, Serghei Spivac walking him down, throwing the big right hand. But it just depends on if Sakai wants to sit on the back foot and counterstrike, or does he want to lead the dance and does he want to walk forward? Because Spivac, you will see a tendency of him just resting up against the cage, waiting for the counter, waiting to slip perfectly to grab you and then to take you down. AJ, if Serghei Spivac can literally lift up Greg Hardy, lift him up off of his feet multiple times and slam him on his head, on his face, right? A very typical, throw that we practice. That's like in judo, jiu-jitsu, stuff like that, man. It's very regular in the practice. If he can do that to Greg Hardy, and Greg Hardy walks around at like 290, cuts to 265, he should be able to do this all day to Augusto Sakai, right? That should be not even an issue whatsoever, man. So you would think Augusto Sakai needs to stay at distance the whole fight. You don't even get close. Don't even come encroaching closeness. And you would think the clinch is a great spot for Sakai to be in because of the Muay Thai, man. He has great elbows. He has nasty work out the clinch. But you don't want to be in the clinch against Serghei Spivac and get taken down, right? So I feel like you're just taking away Sakai's best weapons. Is just keep him at distance and do that. His best weapons are gone. And Serghei Spivac, I'm not going to say he's going to win a striking contest, but at least you can make him a little less formidable there, right? Or is that not even a good approach for Spivac?
No. It's a little bit more formidable because if Sakai gets in close on Spivac, it's going to be more favorable to Spivac. Yeah. Now, if Sakai can get in close, land a couple of the dirty boxing, and then jump back out and not let Spivac start to work his style, that's where I see Sakai having a little bit more favoritism, but it's hard once you get in there. The punches are flying, you're real close up in, some guy grabs your hips.
Yeah, it's very hard, man. So listen, safe to say, I like Serghei Spivac is the minus 210 favorite here, and when we're looking at the TKO prop, plus 205. So if he ground and pounds Sakai into submission, TKO is really what I mean. If he does that, which the likelihood is good, man, Sakai has been stiffed 3 times in a row, plus 205 for the TKO, plus 370 for the decision, and plus 300 for the submission. So clearly here, AJ, and the submission is a real probability too, but clearly the odds makers say the best chance of Spivac winning this, the highest likelihood, is via TKO. Do you agree?
I mean, last 3 lost by TKO, and you feel like the pressure's on for Sakai where he really needs to get one back. I could see a TKO happening, man. I could see it, especially because the Polar Bears, he's a grinder. But I don't know. I mean, it's the same point. Like, do your last 3 losses impact you so much that you're like, all right, I need this win so bad, I'm going to go in there and just take somebody's head off? Or you say like, hey, man, I lost my last 3 by TKO. Maybe I take a little step back. Maybe I play a more calculated fight here. I don't know the mindset of Sakai on this one, man. What do you think?
Well, if you look at it too, I agree with that kind of point, man. I feel like that if anything, Sakai is going to ultimately play it safe. I think he has to, right? I think he's going to learn from the reckless abandon approach that he kind of took with the Tai Tuivasa, because he was having some good moments in that fight. But look at Serghei Spivac. His last 4 wins, 2 of them via finish, 2 of them via decision. A majority decision against Carlos Felipe, and then a decision against Alexei Oleinik, right? The difference is Oleinik, great grappler, so your grappling isn't really going to work against a great grappler like that, right? So I think that the grappling should be the bread and butter, man. I think that he gets the job done, and I'm going to go with the TKO here, even though I do think that submission prop could definitely come into favor. But I think that big elbows off the break, referee jumps in, stops it. I like the under, and the over and under for this fight here, AJ, is 2.5 rounds, minus 165 for the under. So it's not like, listen, don't get me wrong. I don't look at these and I don't say, oh, well, the odds makers say the under is favored. Well, you have to go favored. But I just think that, I mean, the odds makers pick it for a reason. If you look at likelihood scenarios, all it takes is one takedown, and then the fight could be over. For Sakai, it's going to be a much more of an uphill grind. So what's your methodology, brother, for a Spivac win?
Yeah, no, I can see that as well, man, especially once the fighters hit the mat, big elbows coming down, maybe he gets a submission. The TKO's looking a little bit better as well. I'm with you, man. I'm going TKO. Early round 2, what was the over-under?
2.5.
2.5, early round 2. I'm taking the under.
2.5 for that one. And all right, brother. So then we'll get to the last fight of the main card, man. And this is actually a fun one to open up the bouts, man. Ariane Lipski, Queen of Islands versus Priscila Cachoeira. Minus 170 favorite for Lipski, which I'm very surprised because I've been going back and forth on this fight all day long, man. Kind of all week long. Plus 150 comeback for Cachoeira. It's just interesting to me because Ariane Lipski, even though she's a great fighter, man. When it comes down to like striking, she's a legit striker. In her last 5, she's lost 2. She got ground and pound TKO finished by Antonina Shevchenko, which not a lot of people really saw coming. She got super duper smashed by Montana De La Rosa, which not a lot of people necessarily saw that coming either. But the win, she decision Mandy Bohm, which I think the win has not aged very well since Mandy Bohm has had some very terrible performances as of late. Also, a win over Luana Carolina where she knee barred her. That was her claim to fame in the UFC. And then Isabella de Padua. That was a decision victory. Now, Priscila Cachoeira, she just beat Ji Young Kim due to tenacity, due to just grit and guts and blood and violence, right? Which is what you love to see. My question to you here, AJ, is that Ariane Lipski looks really good when the fight's clean and technical. When it gets into a dogfight, that's when she starts to fall apart a little bit. Do you think Cachoeira can put her in that dogfight? Do you think Cachoeira can really inflict her will on Ariane Lipski? Or is she going to get countered too many times trying to come in wild, throwing these crazy big shots like that before she gets a chance to inflict her will? Because I kind of lean towards the latter. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of lean towards the latter as well because I feel like both are the kryptonite to each other. You know, when you get a crazy wild man, what's the best thing to do? Piece him up, stiff him with some precision, and then knock him out. Now, what do you do when you're fighting a technician? Make this a brawl. Yeah. So I feel like they're both the kryptonite for each other. And Cachoeira's a dog. I mean, as much as a lot of people don't appreciate the extracurriculars of her kind of fight style, we'll say it that way. She is a dog regardless in the fight, and she can always bring that scrappiness to it. And Ariane Lipski, as much as I do, and she's a queen of violence. That's her name. She's more a queen of technicians, if you will, because she's very technical, has a striking in. Things get a little sketchy in there. It seems like Ariane Lipski kind of falters a little bit.
Well, Lipski, let's just be clear. She's nicknamed the Queen of Violence because of her KSW days. That's why, because the fans in Poland really liked her. Because if you look at the KSW, she has a body kick and punches TKO, punches TKO, punches TKO, arm bar, rear naked choke, and then a decision. So she was a real killer at KSW. The problem is you come to the UFC and everybody's a killer. So, it doesn't really mean as much. I mean, KSW is a great promotion. Don't get me wrong. But listen, man, the one thing that I think is really interesting is that Priscila Cachoeira, her nickname is Zombie Girl, not just because of her tenacity, but because she can eat shots and keep walking forward. That's why I think it's going to be tough for Ariane Lipski to kind of replicate the same performance she had against Mandy Bohm, because Mandy Bohm, when she started getting touched, she'd be, oh shit, you know what I mean? I think Cachoeira is going to eat those and keep coming. So Ariane Lipski is going to have to be ready for a dogfight. But I think it's going to be as simple as that, man. The only difference here is because Cachoeira, she only pulled one takedown in the last fight against Ji Kim. Great striker, great fundamental, jab and all that. She just needs a little more volume, all that, but if Cachoeira shoots against Ariane Lipski, that's the only real spot where I can see Lipski being like, oh, this fight's going completely downhill. I just don't think Priscila Cachoeira, and I'll look it up really quickly, the UFC stats to see what is her takedown like. What is she truly taking people down with recently? And if you look at Priscila Cachoeira, one takedown against Ji Kim, that's actually the only takedown that she's registered in the UFC. So I feel good. Unless she somehow, some way, I don't think 6 weeks, 8 weeks, a couple months, I don't think that's enough time to be able to truly revamp your whole entire game plan and be like, oh, now I'm a wrestler now. Because once you get in there, you go on autopilot a lot of the times, right? So I like Ariane Lipski for the decision. I think she's going to be too technical. She's going to be able to piece her up. She just has to be ready for that dogfight. And the over and under on this fight, AJ, is... Do I actually have a drum roll? Hold on, let me see if I got a drum roll. Damn, that's sad. No drum roll. All right, that's fine. Over and under on this fight, AJ, is 2.5 rounds, minus 180 for the over. I like the over. I like the decision. What do you got, brother?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. You hit the nail on the head. I like the over. I'm taking the decision. I think it's the best way for her. Keep it technical. Keep it technical for Ariane Lipski all day long.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, man. I'm just really bummed out. I really don't have a drum roll. I feel like I had a drum roll in here at one point, but it's okay. We'll get that on the next show, man. But yeah, easy money right there, Ariane Lipski. So like you said, folks, I'm just going to revamp it one more time. The Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, right? These are your locks for the weekend, right? Take your money, take your picks to the sportsbook, cash them in. Jamahal Hill, Vicente Luque, Zac Pauga, Serghei Spivac, and Ariane Lipski. The only point of contention we have is on the Tough 30 women's flyweight finale between Brogan Walker and Juliana Miller. And even then, listen, just go with your gut because you have a 50-50 shot either way, right? But listen, those are the picks, folks, and that is the reason why we're choosing the picks in the whole entire nine. So with that being said, AJ, I think real quickly, because we're actually running pretty late on time right here, man, I just want to very quickly go over this. Sam Alvey, man, he's lost 7 fights consecutively with 1 draw in the middle of there. Does he win against Michael Oleksichuk this weekend? And if he does lose again, is he still sticking around? I think this is literally the last fight on his contract. Does he get awarded another contract? What do you think?
No, man. Unfortunately, I think it's time. If Sam Alvey loses this one, like as much as he has, yes, he's done so many things for the organization. Yeah. There's some times where you're just like, bro, I can't watch you get knocked out anymore. It's just, it's that time. Oh, I mean, against Oleksichuk, I think he has a chance though. Oleksichuk, not on the biggest role of fighters. Still very, very dangerous, though.
Yeah, how dare you disrespect Michael Oleksichuk? This dude's a monster. This dude's a fucking monster, bro. Yeah, you lost to a great kickboxer in Dustin Jacoby in your last fight, but he did uppercut and knock out Shamil Gamzatov, who was actually no longer in the UFC anymore. That was due to like visa issues, though. It wasn't performance-based. Win over Modestas Bukowskis. Yeah, you got submitted by OSP and Jimmy Crew, but win over Ghazi Murad, Antagulov, Jan Vellante. Come on, bro. This dude's the real deal, man. Listen, if Sam Alvey squeaks out a split decision win, does he get awarded another contract?
Ooh, I don't think so.
All right,
I don't think so, man.
Just safe to say. Yeah. I just wanted to put that out there just to clarify, you know what I'm saying? Terrance McKinney, T-Rex, returns and he fights Erick Gonzalez, the Ghost Pepper. Listen, man, Erick Gonzalez is coming off of a nasty knockout loss to Jim A1 Miller, A10 Miller, A1. I've been eating too much A1 sauce on my steak. A10 Miller. Listen, does Terrance McKinney knock him out in the first round or does he want to go to the distance?
Ooh. T-Rex KO round 1. Oh, right. Man, against Gonzalez, though. Yeah, T-Rex.
All right, you heard it here first. Tough 29 champion and alumni Bryan Battle fights Takashi Sato this weekend. This is going to be the biggest test of his career thus far. Can he get the job done?
Almost made this a sleeper, man. I think he does. He does against Sato. What about you?
I think that he can get this job done. I think Sato is heavy in play for an upset pick here if he comes as the Sato we know. If he just lets Bryan Battle get the takedown, it's going to be game over, and Bryan Battle is going to win the fight very clearly. 1 million teep kicks incoming from Bryan Pooh Bear Battle. Now, last fight that we haven't talked about, Corey McKenna versus Miranda Granger. Now, this is going to be a big comeback fight for both of these fighters right here, because if you look at it, Corey McKenna, bad loss in her last one, man, to Elise Reed, where a lot of people didn't really see that one coming, but she was on a bit of a hot streak. She beat Kay Hansen, right? That was her UFC debut. Vanessa Demopoulos, who's making noise now. She has a win over her. And for Miranda Danger Granger, lost to Ashley Yoder in her last one, and a loss to Amanda Lemos. And decision to Yoder, she got submitted by Lemos. Wins over Hannah Goldie. Wins over... That's basically it, notable in the UFC. Can Corey McKenna, Poppins, can she get back on track here, or is this Miranda Granger's time to come back with the upset? Miranda Granger is 7 years older. She is, 4 inches taller and has like a 10-inch reach advantage.
Man, I kind of like Corey McKenna in this one, even though it seems like the odds are stacked against her. I kind of like Corey McKenna in this one a little bit more, although Miranda Granger is very dangerous in this fight as well, too, man. Who you picking?
Brother, I'm going to go... I like Corey McKenna here, but I'm going to go Granger, man. Those intangibles are just kind of hard to beat, bro. You're so much taller. You have a fucking million-inch reach. And then, look at that, though. Tabology says McKenna gets the job done. She is a little more popular of a fighter, though. I will admit that. So, I mean, shoot. All right, well, that's that. That is that. And those are your picks right there. Those are your prelim pour-over right there. And lastly, folks, we just ask that you do us a solid, man. You know, we've been breaking down these picks. We do it each and every week, right? Great standing right now, 64% about. Give us a follow on Twitch, right? Twitch for AJ is right there. Santa Fe Bomber. Hit me up. Tap, Napper, Snap right around there. And then you can even hit up the Bloody Water Podcast. We don't got much going on over there. But what you can do is you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You could hit us up at bloodywaterpodcast.com. You can share the show with your friends. But I think the most important thing that you can do right now, and this is something that not a lot of people are doing, so I would really encourage you to do this. Go to your Apple Podcasts, right? If you're on Apple or whatever your podcast source is, and rate us 5 stars. You don't actually understand how big of a deal that is and how it boosts us up the algorithm. So when people type in Bloody Water, you just type in Bloody and WA, and next thing you know, our thing will pop up. But until you do that, you got to type the whole thing out, and nobody wants to do that. It's almost like being shadow banned without being shadow banned, just because we don't get the recognition up the SEO. So listen, folks, help us out. Subscribe, 5 stars, and do it. We love you. We appreciate you. AJ, any last words for the people?
Man, you said it best, man. It really does. Y'all don't understand. Maybe you do understand, but even if you don't, or even if you do, either way, help us out. Get the algorithm going in our favor. It really does mean a lot to us. And like Derek said, we got 415 right now. It means a bunch. It means a massive deal. We thank y'all so much for the support, the love, all that stuff. Now we're just trying to keep it growing. So keep sharing it. Keep the grind going. Keep the momentum in our favor. Your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. You already know where to go. Man, Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. It's going to be a great week of fights, too.
Great week of fights. Don't forget that on Friday, so by the time this episode drops on video, right, it will be the day of the fight. You do have some fight night fights going on for the PFL, right? So you got some PFL fights. That'll be fun. I think Anthony Pettis is going to be fighting again here. We got football today as of we're recording this. Raiders versus Jaguars Hall of Fame game. Nobody cares. It's like preseason. Nobody really gives a shit. But listen, man, we got sports back. We here. We ready. We ready to get it. But nothing trumps fights. Fights is number one. First and foremost, that is the lifeblood of what we do here. That is it for us, folks. Catch us on Monday for the post show. You know what time it is. Until next time, folks. Peace.